and dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
And welcome to Anti-Tyranny News Radio here on UCY.TV. Thank you for joining me this evening. Going to dive in a few different things. There's one thing about climate change, global warming in a sense, that I'll get into. Was going to talk a little bit Bitcoin here later on, but I do want to get into some recent news first, so let me go ahead and bring that up. This one from Ben Swan, and if you're in the chat, would like to know your opinion, you can join the chat room at ucy.tv/ATN, or you can go to atnewsradio.com. This titled, out of Ben Swan, Edward Snowden leak more honorable than David Petraeus. Says here, Washington, D.C., the U.S. Justice Department has recommended felony charges against former CIA Chief General David Petraeus. In 2012, he left the agency after it turned out he revealed secrets to his biographer and lover, Paula Broadwell. Reports say the woman had access to the general's corporate emails. So far, it's been 3 years of an investigation without incident, and his charges turned into an option. A chorus of outrage is coming from Petraeus cheerleaders in Washington, including Senators John McCain and Dianne Feinstein, who call him a hero. But when it comes to Edward Snowden, he's described as a traitor by the very same people. I'm going to play this short clip here.
The U.S. Justice Department has recommended felony charges against former CIA Chief General David Petraeus. In 2012, he left the agency after it turned out he revealed secrets to his biographer and lover, Paula Broadwell. Reports say the woman had access to the general's corporate emails. Well, so far, it's been 3 years of investigation without indictment. And as his charges turn into an option, a chorus of outrage is coming from Petraeus' cheerleaders in Washington.
Let me say what I think. This man has suffered enough, in my view.
A man, as Dianne Feinstein just said, that is a genuine American hero.
Let's not forget what President Obama said when the disgraced general resigned.
He has provided this country an extraordinary service. We are safer because of the work that Dave Petraeus has done.
Right. We are safer because of this classified leak. So Petraeus is a suffering hero, while Edward Snowden, accused of similar crimes, is this, according to the very same people.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot.
Mr. Snowden is some kind of a whistleblower when we know that he betrayed his oath of office.
He has taken an oath, and these oaths mean something. If you can't keep the oath, get out.
Joining me in the now is Ben Swan. He's an investigative journalist and RT America host. Thanks for being with us. So Snowden is a traitor and Petraeus a hero. What am I missing?
I don't think you're missing anything except for the connection between Petraeus and his friendly relationships with Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator John McCain, and President Obama himself. Look, at the end of the day, when we look at this story, it stands out as a stark example of the really double standard that there is in Washington. If you're politically connected, if you're friendly with lobbyists and with those in power, you can essentially do anything you want, and there's no repercussion for it. On the other hand, if you're someone like Edward Snowden, there is, you're essentially banished from the country and face charges for the rest of your life. But Anissa, I do want to point something out here that's an important distinction. What Edward Snowden did was categorically different than what David Petraeus did. And if we want to talk about just in terms of optics and honor here, Edward Snowden essentially took information and told the American public, this is what your government is doing without you knowing about it. David Petraeus took classified information, handed it over to his girlfriend as if he was peacocking in some way and wanted her to be impressed with him. So if we talk about honor, how can you see Petraeus as honorable in this and Snowden as not?
Well, some might argue that Petraeus, the argument could be made, did it maybe unintentionally, where Snowden actually took a step to do this.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. It's not unintentional, however, that Petraeus gave the information to Broadwell. He didn't unintentionally share it with her. He intentionally shared it with her. Remember, Paula Broadwell was an Army Reserve officer who was having an affair with Petraeus and writing a biography about him. He turned over the information to her in order to help build the story of his life that she was helping to craft for him. So it wasn't unintentional that it was given out. The difference is in how it was given out. He was essentially sharing the information with one person for his own personal advantage. Edward Snowden, on the other hand, was sharing the information with the nation and not for his own personal advantage. And if we in the media in America were honest about this story, we would say what Snowden did, by all measures, was a more honest thing to do than what Petraeus did.
Obviously, that's not the picture we're seeing. So I want to ask you about the American people, perhaps, as best you can. Give us an idea of how they might see Snowden versus Petraeus.
Well, a couple of thoughts on that. First of all, Edward Snowden is either vilified or made into a hero, depending on the group of people we're talking about. Tens of millions of people in this country believe Edward Snowden is a hero. Tens of millions more believe that he is a traitor to this country. Petraeus is a different story, and because, again, when we talk about the issue, and you and I have talked about this on your show before, between the corporate media and Washington, there is one narrative when it comes to Petraeus. There's no one in corporate media who is calling out David Petraeus for this or saying that he should face charges or at least be indicted on it, even though the Justice Department believes that he should be indicted on charges. We're hearing the same narrative over and over. He's an American hero. He was the four-star general who led the surge in Iraq and in Afghanistan. He was the head of the CIA. He is the strongest military icon of his generation, and that is the only narrative that corporate media is pushing.
Wouldn't those who support Petraeus sort of push the argument that his leaks didn't really have any implications, where Snowden's, of course, step changed the world, essentially?
Yes. I think you could absolutely make that argument, and I think that's an accurate argument. But I think it's a flawed argument, because when you say his classified information, Petraeus' classified information, didn't really change anything. Well, then two questions have to be asked about that. One, why was the information classified? What did she actually see? And should we, as the public, be aware of it? Number two, when Snowden shares the information, again, he's sharing the information with the public, whom the United States government is supposed to serve. And so Snowden's belief was that he was sharing information with the public when the public had a right to know because it was directly affecting them. On the other hand, with Petraeus, he's sharing information that does not directly affect the person involved. So again, I have a hard time with this narrative because of the fact that Snowden was doing something that he believed was the right thing to do because we as the public have a right to know. On the other hand, Paula Broadwell had no right, at least at face value, to the information that she was given.
Very interesting points. Ben Swan with us in the Now tonight, investigative journalist and, of course, RT America host. Thanks so much, Ben.
Thank you.
That again from RT, I got from benswan.com. If you're in the chat, what do you think? Do either of these people come off as heroes? Are they both wrong? Is one wrong, the other wrong? Petraeus supposedly opened up all that for his biography, of course, with the biographer that he was having relations with. Edward Snowden, on the other hand, gave up his, lucrative job, his freedom here in America with his girlfriend, if he just kept his mouth shut, and he gave all that up. He's in Russia, and he did it all to reveal it to the American people. Maybe there was other alternative motives, but in the outcome that we know, it's that he leaked information to the American public. Is there one that you would say did it for the good, or do you think they all are crooked? I look at Edward Snowden. I think there's some alternative motives out there, but I wouldn't go as far to say that they're a hero. But Petraeus, he was doing it like Ben had kind of like the showing off. You know what? I think it's all BS, in the end. Our government's completely corrupt, so we basically know that there is a lot of stuff that can come out. Politicians and government and the military-industrial complex, they get a little shooken when documents get leaked. And many in the chat seem Petraeus seems to be not looked at in a good light, which I definitely agree with. What he was doing was kind of just what they do in Washington, D.C. They make themselves out to be someone that they really aren't. They're all crooked. They get there by backstabbing and betraying and selling out the American people. So it should be no surprise that, hey, Petraeus, you're going to have those buddies there in Washington to back you up. Edward Snowden, he did the opposite. He was exposing it to the American people, not some woman he was banging. He was giving out everything to everyone. There it is. I'm putting it out on the table. it's complete opposites, and I think that in the end, there is no winner really. It's just a sad situation. I really think so. Okay, moving on. Well, I've talked about, oil prices. They are going to end up going up, but I do believe that they're going to bring oil prices down to, probably about $35 a barrel. Not positive, but I think that they can bring it down to that, hold it at that for long enough to collapse oil. But then when it collapses, of course, then what does it have to do? It has to go back up. Well, 35 for our oil producers is oil collapsing. They're not making a profit. That means that it's collapse in our books. But OPEC, no. That's not a collapse price for them. And when it's artificially being held there, they know what comes after. That's when prices start surging. Definitely here in America. Now, how long can our producers hold out? And I know there's a lot of people are really worried about the fracking, worried about pipelines, and I have mixed feelings about it. Give me a second here. Okay. I don't know how long our producers are going to be able to hold out. But I'm betting it's not going to be too long before some of those smaller operations are closing up. Definitely with the resistance of people to the pipeline. And like I said, I understand people have issues with the pipeline and fracking, and I think there are real issues, but all these industries are regulated. You got to remember, it's all tied together. So you calling for more regulation only puts a higher price on it, and who do you think that's going to hurt? It's going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt the politicians. It's not going to hurt the president. They're stealing your money to pay for everything they do. So don't think it's going to hurt them when you call for more regulation. They're like, oh, you want more regulation? We'll give you more regulation. It's going to cost you more. And this is what's leading to our own producers collapsing, because then when the people go, well, I don't know if it's safe. Well, we definitely need to have independent studies. But the calling for more regulation from government is not going to solve it. All it's going to do is raise prices, and that's absolutely it. It's not going to solve anything. And when these domestic producers start closing shop or stop operations, we could run into a big problem. We're not off of oil. It's still a major commodity. And with us being dependent on it, it's going to hurt when we're not producing and we're having to import now artificially inflated prices. And, you know, look at most of the countries that the oil comes from. It's not going to end well. There's one here from AMTV. I'm going to go ahead and queue up here. Maybe.
Check out our sponsor, ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com, the leading innovator in water filtration systems. Get all of your water filters at ProPureUSA.com. Click the link below right now. Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV, Alternative Media Television. Today's video, I'm going to discuss the global economic outlook for 2015 and what's on the top of my mind and what is top of mind at this given point in history. You know, I think the most interesting thing right now is collapsing oil prices. It really is a leading indicator, and it is a massive macroeconomic shift in how the world does business, how it affects consumers, and what's happening geopolitically. And we've discussed this in length. We've talked about how it's just a mere convenient coincidence that it targets specifically the enemies of the West. It targets Vladimir Putin's government. It targets Russia. It targets all of their exports, 30% to Europe, of which the European Union depends on, etc. We've had a number of characters come out in recent days, principally one of the Saudi elite, Prince Alawid, who's a multi-billionaire, estimated between 20, 30 plus billion dollars, says it's just a mere coincidence that Saudi Arabia is targeting not just U.S. fracking companies and fracturing companies here in the United States of America, which now the U.S. is the largest producer in the world, just miraculously since the 2008 financial collapse, but that also it's a mere coincidence that it's targeting Russia and that it's also targeting a nuclear-armed Iran. And this is also hurting Saudi Arabia. So what we have here is really an international game of chicken, a head-on collision course where, you know, looking at oil prices today, I see oil at $45 a barrel, almost reaching parity at WTI, Western Texas Intermediate crude, and also Brent crude, reaching almost a parity, playing a legitimate game of chicken right now. And of course, we have this geopolitical war between the East and the West. We have the establishment of the Eurasian Union, with Vladimir Putin in the East, and China is organizing a counterpoint to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And it's interesting how all of this is shaking out. In fact, Russia in recent days, since the ruble has collapsed, it's been cut in half. Since oil prices are collapsing, it's having to use its reserves to at least temporarily stabilize the ruble and its currency, has been going to China for loans. And China has been lending the money. Isn't it interesting that China now seems to be the kingpin of the world, and the United States is being superseded by the East? Because all of this is changing. Now, people ask, why is it a bad thing that gas prices are falling? Isn't this good for the consumer? Isn't this stimulus? Isn't this good for truckers? Isn't it good for me and my family? Yes, it is in that respect. But it is catastrophic for other countries, namely Russia, namely Venezuela, namely Iran. And, you know, if you're Iran, you're looking at your nuclear, the correct pronunciation of it, cash, a lot more attractively now with your economy suffering, with inflation taking root in your society, where Russia, for example, you're not getting the same goods into the Russian people at the grocery store. Venezuela is in the midst of riots, if not about to boil over in revolution because of these policies. So it's a gross destabilization campaign, arguably, by the West and potentially Saudi Arabia in cahoots with one another. Now, of course, Prince Alaouid, or whatever his name is, he'll say that, again, this is mere coincidence, but when is the last time we actually believed a Saudi billionaire, for that matter? I mean, again, he's the equivalent of Warren Buffett here in the United States. He says one thing, but what's more important to watch is what they're doing. So things that I'm looking at, for example, in oil, is until we see some stability in oil prices, and there's been virtually a collapse in recent months, I think it's a very dangerous time in the world. It's also a very dangerous time for our financial markets. I think that oil could go as low as $35 a barrel. Saudis have said they're willing to withstand oil prices in the 20s if need be. And of course, this will lead to bankruptcy. This will lead to fracturing companies in the United States going out of business, people losing their jobs. People have been reaching out to me via email saying, hey, my rig was just shut down, Christopher. I just lost my job. So all of this has a profound impact on the economy, not to mention the U.S. banks, the bailout kingpins themselves, the too big to fails, these monolithic institutions that caused the collapse in 2008, have lent millions, billions, who knows, maybe trillions if you measure it in derivatives, in the multi-quadrillion derivative markets, have lent all this money to the fracturing companies, to these rigs, to this new technology, which is now going defunct, which is now going bankrupt, and it'll affect bank earnings. Of course, all of this will affect earnings for U.S. companies here in the United States. And it's why you're seeing people like the pundits like Jim Cramer, now having to succumb to the fact that, yeah, this might be a short-term benefit for the consumer, which makes up 2/3 of GDP here in the United States in this super leveraged society that we live, this Kim Kardashian la-la land, but it's going to affect corporate earnings. And so we have geopolitical instability.
Give me a second here.
Experiencing right now? Are we transitioning from the $100 a barrel, arguably manipulated price of oil that's been kind of the game for years now to something completely different? I was listening to a Goldman Sachs analyst yesterday, and he was talking about the fact that because all of this has changed with U.S. fracturing, instead of having to make an investment in oil and waiting 3 years for it to pan out, it happens like this in a matter of months now. So there's a yo-yo effect in terms of their ability to produce oil and to produce more supply at will. And this is contrary to what the experience has been for years now. It has been the experience for decades now. And I think it's why we have this game of chicken occurring right now between Saudi Arabia, between U.S. fracturing companies, between the East, Russia, etc. That's why we have this geopolitical movement in the Ukraine. And I could argue this is a profound paradigm shift, and not just the petrodollar, but also our relationship with international financial markets and the rest of the world. We're seeing in Europe now deflation. It's no longer speculative that they are experiencing deflation. They are in a massive deflationary environment. They have zero growth. They have negative interest rates. And Angela Merkel, Queen Bee of Germany, is about to launch a new round of quantitative easing on the coattails of what we've seen here in the United States of America, monetizing the debt to fabricate and fake growth. Another angle to this is maybe Obama, maybe the U.S. president, maybe the United States is realigning itself with Saudi Arabia. Maybe we're falling out with our once allies. That's also a possibility. I found it interesting also yesterday that the president, conveniently, right before his State of the Union address, right before he's going to make this major push for new internet censorship, reinvigorate things like CISPA and SOPA, just happened to have CENTCOM hacked by ISIS, allegedly.
Isn't that convenient? You know, we also talked about the North Korean hacks, which in my personal humble opinion, I think was a false flag, was orchestrated by the state, was orchestrated by our intelligence agencies to blame on North Korea, everybody's favorite target, so the president can push for this new legislation. It's a reason and justification why we need the surveillance state, why we need the police state, why the NSA should and has been committing illegal and traitorous anti-constitutional acts against the American people. And now we have this convenient hack, allegedly from ISIS, for the CENTCOM website, YouTube, and Twitter accounts. Isn't this all convenient? You know, it makes you wonder and question, when is the suitcase bomb, God forbid, going to go off? What would happen then? What happens if a bomb, as Mikhail Gorbachev, if I'm saying his name correctly, trip over these words sometimes, is correct in the fact that there is a nuclear event as a result of U.S. sanctions in Russia, as a result of this game of chicken with oil prices and this precipitous drop in crude. What would that look like? How would that affect U.S., European, and global financial markets? How would that change the perspective of the American people? So again, gas prices at these levels, incredibly dangerous. This is a major macro shift, unlike anything we've seen since the pre-collapse of the 2008 and 2009 financial crash and crisis with Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns and the merger and very risky marriage between Merrill Lynch and bankrupt of America. Again, oil prices hitting a high of about $150 a barrel before dropping precipitously, I believe, into the mid-30s, I think was the low, somewhere in that ballpark. We're seeing the same thing happen now, but the U.S. stock market doesn't seem to be following suit yet. And again, once I think we get some stability in oil markets, once things continue to hit more of a panic mode, once we see blood on the streets and we get very severe panic, will the U.S. stock market follow suit next? Will this just be another opportunity for the Federal Reserve not to act, not to raise interest rates? Again, allow Europe to ride the coattails of a new round of quantitative easing in a European Union which is arguably breaking apart at the seams today. Not just countries like Greece with the uprising of the Syriza party and that movement, that anti-bailout movement, the potential exit, Grexit from the Eurozone, many other countries potentially to follow. You see, the New World Order is arguably trying to hold on to what it's created, but I think there's a bigger picture here. See, the bigger picture is disintegration of places like the Eurozone, is a macro shift in the oil markets, the petrodollar, etc. So the New World Order elite, so to speak, can push forward that true agenda, that agenda of unity, just like what we saw with Charlie Hebdo, the agenda of unity. Yeah, we have free speech in this country and abroad as long as people agree with it. Donald Sterling, for example, is a perfect example of being crucified because people didn't believe or agree with his use of his freedom of free speech. They just stole his Clippers team. So it's subjective in a lot of ways. I also noticed CNN refused to put out any images of the Prophet Muhammad on their program so that they would refuse to put the new cover of Charlie Hebdo magazine on its websites and its media platform. Again, watch oil. In my opinion, personal humble opinion, this is the greatest macro event, macro shift currently taking place. It will have profound repercussions politically, economically, geopolitically, and I believe it's leading to war. I'm Christopher Green. Get it out everywhere. Make it viral, hard-hitting and in your face, and click the link below to support our sponsor.
AMTV on YouTube. It's one of those things that we always see government trying to gain control, and a lot of times we see that it's the American people that sometimes give them the ability to gain that control. And the whole calling for regulations is one of those. And that's not me going, oh, we shouldn't make sure, what oil companies do isn't harming, our, land that we have and share, and they're not destroying the earth. But we don't get that with the regulation. And it's one of those things that you can call for government, they'll come, but you're not going to like the result, and that's the problem. We have to realize that we just need to be able to have control over our private property, and when others harm our private property, we should be able to seek restitution for that, and people be held responsible. And that is not what we're going to get from a government, that government and corporations together work in unison. That's what government does. If you call for enough government, eventually all the people you call the rich people, they'll be cut out of it. But that doesn't mean that the elitists will be cut out of it. It will become a complete socialist country, fascist country, where government controls everything. I seen this coming out of Infowars.com. Anonymous hacked after linking CENTCOM hackers to Maryland. Update: Anonymous has released the name of a hacker thought to be involved with Monday's ISIS CENTCOM hack, although some experts have questioned the validity excuse me, of the page and the hacker's alleged link to ISIS. The Anon Message Twitter account claims to have discovered a connection, said breaking cyber caliphate's identity, one we know of. And then it lists the name and age and background. The alleged hacker appears to be the same jihadist who made headlines in 2014 after heading to Syria from Birmingham. Hussein was arrested in 2012 for hacking and posting personal information online from Tony Blair. In response to the discovery, Anonymous also released a statement on a new operation targeting anyone involved with the cyber caliphate. Citizens of the world, we are anonymous. In light of the recent cyber attacks led by members of ISIS, we have extended our declaration of war to include any and all supporters of the terror group, including the cyber caliphate splinter group, who have recently been able to infiltrate one of the U.S. Central Command servers and leak sensitive information that may likely be used by countries of terrorist origin, North Korea. Although we insist to maintain our distance from any support towards the actions of the United States government, we truly condemn any actions taken by those who associate themselves with ISIS and continue to wreak havoc across the internet. We are anonymous. We are legion. The anonymous account had been allegedly compromised the prior evening. And it was the Anon Message at the Anon Message on Twitter. And it says here the Anon message Twitter account's profile picture and background was altered at around 10:44 p.m. Pacific, changed to feature the same Islamic State imagery previously seen on CENTCOM's Twitter and YouTube profiles. We shall strike like the thunder, all allegiance to the Islamic State, a tweet on the account said. Anonymous was able to reestablish control over the account in less than 5 minutes, reportedly discovering the exact location of the Cyber Caliphate hacker in the process. And they tweeted, "Nice try, a-hole. Now we know exactly where you are." Followers of the account immediately noted the group's quick response time, pointing out the fact that CENTCOM, a group responsible for U.S. security interests in 20 nations, took several hours to appear back online. The original CENTCOM hack made headlines after the alleged ISIS supporter issued threats against a multitude of groups while linking to a page which appeared to list personal information on U.S. military personnel. Many question the timing of the high-profile incident, given the fact that President Obama was delivering an address on cybersecurity at nearly the exact moment. And here's the InfoWars report on the convenient ISIS hack on CENTCOM as President Obama was speaking on cybersecurity.
Hackers claiming to be aligned with Islamic State militants took control of the U.S. Central Command's Twitter and YouTube accounts just after noon today. The background and profile photos of the CENTCOM accounts were both changed to show an apparent militant and the phrases "Cyber Caliphate" and "I love you, ISIS." The hackers have threatened U.S. soldiers, saying, "Watch your backs." They posted emails and phone numbers of top military officers, threatened the release of classified documents, including some slides showing the China scenario. In a statement, the Central Command confirmed that its Twitter account had been compromised and said it is taking appropriate measures to address the matter. Forget cyber laws. This is the countdown to an internet kill switch. The group conveniently took over Central Command's accounts just as the president was delivering a speech on new cybersecurity proposals this afternoon. In recent days, experts have been warning about a coming cyber Pearl Harbor, and in an interview for PBS, Edward Snowden discussed how the new military weapon is cyber weaponry. The NSA whistleblower revealed just how easily the United States could be compromised if hackers targeted core routers that connect virtually every industry in America.
When it comes to cyber warfare, we have more to lose than any other nation on Earth.
Now, when Sony was hacked, cybersecurity experts said that there was no way that North Korea could have done it, and it was more likely an inside job. The FBI, however, continues to assert that, according to its expertise, it was North Korea, period. Now, how do we know that CENTCOM hasn't hacked itself? Wouldn't that be the easiest way to enforce an internet kill switch? This is the U.S. Central Command being hacked. Now, no doubt this latest hack will keep officials on high alert. The NYPD and FBI issued alerts today after ISIS re-released a video calling for attacks of intelligence officers, police officers, soldiers, and civilians in the U.S. Federal law enforcement agencies are taking the threats seriously. But it's not just ISIS using the momentum from last week's radical Islamic rampage in Paris to further their agenda. The West has wasted no time calling for CISPA-style legislation and information sharing, and you can expect to see this issue of cybersecurity propagated heavily in the president's upcoming State of the Union address.
Every year we make resolutions to lose weight and get in shape.
Okay, that was from Infowars.com. I really think that a lot of this is more than likely a inside type job. We know that they've been trying to get this internet kill switch passed. We've been talking about it here on this broadcast for, a couple years. CISPA, SOPA, you ACTA, all these different internet control mechanisms trying to be put in place to control populations and their ability for free speech. And these people have come out and basically said that they want to control speech. But then we just conveniently have these hacks, and they say that, they want to introduce this legislation again for, kill switches. Well, you already know the people calling for this have previously talked about restricting people's speech. So when you have these sketchy people we already don't trust, calling for control of the internet. And it's one of those things that this has been a tool that, even though it might have been created by the government, the market, the free market, has taken it to a completely different level. The entrepreneurs out there, the imagine people that can just come up with ideas and be able to write code and write programs, and the pace that technology has grown, it's amazing. What we can do with computers now that we couldn't do 10 years ago, couldn't do 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Think 20 years ago where we were with computers, 10 years ago. And the more regulation we see placed upon any industry, whether it be the oil industry or the technology industry or whatever it be, we see the restriction of free ideas in the name of, it might be dangerous to people. Well, why don't we let those people make those choices? Give me a second here. Okay. Had a little issue there. Okay. We understand that government involvement only means restriction, and you best believe any new technology is going to be something that they're using first. And 30 years from now, they might release it to the public. And we see with the medical field that it really can, through politics and corporation mingling, become more about profit than it will be about service. And if we allow things like this to scare us into allowing them to pass things like this, yeah, we're screwed. So again, that article there was from Infowars.com. Anonymous hack after linking sitcom hackers to Maryland. I don't know if it was government or ISIS, but we know that it definitely just ended up convenient timing. Okay. Everything going on over in France. There's been a lot of controversy because no one really important showed up from the United States. I seen a picture just recently of the photo op that we seen in all the media. It looked like it was taken from a window. Probably a resident in the area took the photo. But you see them spread out all the way across the road in the front. And then it V's back. So the very back person is standing alone. And it V's wide towards the front. And it's in this long alley roadway with tall buildings. So when the photo was taken from the front, it looked like there was a lot of people there. So we know they do this with the media a lot. They know how to do photo ops, and they do a pretty good job at it. But Jon Stewart basically came out and bashed Obama for not showing up, and it was definitely pretty interesting. And here we go.
Welcome to the Daily Show. My name is Jon Stewart. My guest tonight, thank you very much. My guest tonight, a young man by the name of Jimmy Carter. He is former president, and he is like the Charles Bronson of fighting guinea worm in Africa. He has a vendetta against these worms. He'll talk about it a little bit when he comes out here. But first, as you remember last week, Islamic extremists carried out a deadly targeted attack on the offices of the satirical French magazine Charlie Hebdo, trying to strike a blow against free expression, the right to offend. Well, this Sunday, France answered.
The largest demonstration ever in French history. Between 1.2 and 1.6 million people rallied in Paris.
Wow. I don't speak French. 1.6 million Parisians in the streets. Are we sure they weren't on strike? Was that a strike? I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, a 12-hour work month, that'll push anyone. No, really, it's inspiring to see millions of Parisians taking time out of their mandatory month-long vacation to participate in that. Look, we're all united behind France, but if we suddenly start shying away from mocking the French with tired stereotypes, the terrorists win. And I'm not going to let that happen. By the way, the march also gave Parisians Is my pronunciation of Parisian that bad? The march also gave a chance to introduce a new icon of liberty.
The pencil, the new symbol of freedom of expression, was everywhere.
People were holding pencils, waving pencils, raising pencils aloft. Bow before our new graphite king. Be not afraid of the pencil. Simultaneously taking a stand for free expression whilst bringing hope to one of France's most forgotten and threatened industries. Pencil making. As you'll see in my new, yet strangely timeless, poetic realist film. This is my best
Try to skip ahead
ever!
to the bashing of Obama.
Forever! They are daring terrorism to come over. And of course, no grand show of liberty is complete without America, the country that invented freedom. That's why President Obama was there, front and center.
No top-level U.S. presence here. No president, no vice president, no first lady, no former president.
Where was the president?
Where was President Obama?
How could Obama not be there? Look how many world leaders he could have bowed down to and apologized. He missed an opportunity. How could the U.S. not be there when representatives of such beacons of freedom and lack of censorship as journalist punishing Russia was there, journalist jailing Turkey was there, Egypt, enough said, Palestinian cartoonist jailing Israel was there, and of course, our greatest ally, Saudi Arabia, was there, although a little out of breath, having just days ago flogged a blogger. Couldn't Obama have at least sent a friend?
Attorney General Eric Holder was in Paris.
Okay, all right, there you go. All right, I'm sorry. I jumped to conclusions. Eric Holder, the top law official in the United States, our Attorney General. I mean, come on, France. Holder's not good enough for you. You guys are only happy with Le Grand Fromage?
Although Attorney General Eric Holder was in Paris for counterterrorism meetings, he did not attend the march.
What the Eric Holder, you were in France, in Paris, at the time of the march, and we're like, oh, I get it. You're probably taking advantage of the shortest tourist lines in French history. While the march is going on, you're just kicking back, snapping selfies with the Mona Lisa, stealing catacomb bones, finally getting a table at France's most popular rat-owned bistro. Is that what you were doing? Unbelievable! An enormous global rally in supporting freedom of expression after attack on a close ally, and the U.S. was a no-show? It's going to take a lot to make up for this.
John Kerry said this morning he will go to France later this week.
Je suis to be kidding me. We'll be right back.
So there you have it. The classic Jon Stewart bashing there. But it's gotten to the point where the bringing down of America has got to the point that we don't even have the nationalism anymore to care what other countries think of us. You know, even under the nationalism that we had, the patriotism that America once had, I don't believe we have it like we used to. And I don't agree with, you know, the everything that we were doing, but there was a sense of pride that we had to show ourselves in a certain way. We don't even have that anymore. So you have to really start asking, where are we? I think we're actually in a vulnerable place. Because we have no sense of identity anymore as a people. We don't feel that we live in a free country. We don't trust our government, which is good. We should actually never trust our government. But we don't even have any sense of respect because the respect has been lost by politicians and government. And it's getting to the point that now if you work in the government, give me another second here. So a few issues. Okay. Even if you work for the government, now people are losing that trust. Now, law enforcement is no longer trusted because we don't have peace officers. We have police officers. Law enforcement, whether the law is just or not, we have law enforcement. We don't even trust utility companies anymore that are contracted with the city or contracted with the government that can collect data on you. We're no longer trusting our phone carriers that are contracted in some way with the government or have some agreement with the government. The trust is being lost at every stage. And once we understand that it's not going to get better until the people that even work for these institutions are willing to stand up and go, we're not doing this. This is not acceptable. We have to have a strong sense of pride when it comes to our liberty, our freedom. That giving it up for the false sense of security is not just. It's not making your life better. Okay. I was going to play this clip, but I don't know if it's going to even come up. me try to close my browser here and reload it. I don't know if it is. Not sure what's going on here. I've been having some issues with both of my browsers. Disabled all any add-ons that were on there, except for my security add-on. Okay, here we go. Now what we got it loading. This coming out of Next News Network. I covered something similar to this before, but this is 3D printer cranks out houses, and I've been a big advocate for 3D printers. This is something that's definitely revolutionizing what people can do. When you see 3D printers in people's homes, you're going to see people able to fix things that normally they would not be able to do. The trademarks or whatever, the copyrights, whatever, go out the window. You're not going to see the world the way it was before, and we already have 3D metal printing devices out there. So, food, medicine, all this, it's definitely revolutionizing what we'll be able to do. Here we go.
We see a lot of new technology these days, so much in fact that we sometimes tend to tune it out. But this new 3D printer craze is actually pretty cool. If you haven't seen it yet, the 3D printer can literally build your designs with a special computer program. It takes the blueprints, processes the information, and spits out the necessary parts. In fact, it can even put all the pieces together. We've seen a 3D printer make a gun, a guitar, a camera lens, even medical instruments. All this is interesting, but this next thing is amazing. A giant 3D printer can literally build houses. We're seeing this now in China and in the United Kingdom. Before long, we could start to see 3D printers take a big role in the construction industry here in the United States. And thanks to a designer in Great Britain, the blueprints could be available on the internet. Take a look.
Effectively, the idea is to make it possible to essentially share and then download a house, which you can then customize the design of and print out the parts for, effectively using a machine called a CNC machine, which is essentially like a cross between your printer you have at home and a drill. And that, from a standard sheet material like plywood, that cuts out the parts, and that basically gives you a flat pack house, which you can then assemble in a few days, really.
That's Alistair Parvin. He's the founder of the WikiHouse Foundation. His design punches out all of the lumber to the exact specs, trusses, frames, walls, and windows. The whole thing ready for crews to put together. Meanwhile, over in China, video footage shows a 3D printer building 10 small houses in just one day's time. The rise of the machines is real. Using a huge 3D printer with a robotic arm, engineers sit back and watch the machine do all of the work. Mixing ingredients like cement and glass fiber, the robotic arms follow the blueprints and put everything together. This is just one more arena where low-paying jobs could be on the chopping block before much longer. But the upside, you can get a 3D house for just 3D printed house for just $5,000. The downside, you'll have to move to China.
So we have something here that you can put in your home now. Maybe not one that's going to print you another home, but you can print quite a bit of stuff. If there's something that you need that's small, the price of a small 3D printer, it's remarkable. I've seen them as low as, $300, couple $100. Shoot, they have 3D pens, which, they're not going to be for anything spectacular, little art craft work, but I've seen those going for pretty low price, around $60. So the price of it's going to continue to drop the better it gets. The older machines that can still do what you need them to do will drop in price. We definitely are entering a different world than we've seen in the past. This is one of those leaps, I believe. But I believe that here in the United States, we're going to see our accessibility to all this become restricted. And there'll be other countries that will become freer and be able to take this technology to a whole nother level. But I think here in the United States, the only places that you'll see that is in government, which will end up being part of the military. A lot of us say that we need to come back home and mind our own business. I think that the way we're headed, we'll get that, but not the way we want it. We'll get it because we'll have no option. We won't be a world power, and I hope it doesn't come at the cost of us suffering to the hands of other countries attacking us. But I fear just as much that our own government could do the same. We don't know who's going to be in power in the future, and we don't know what they're going to be capable of. And each time that we get administration in there that increases the grip on power of the administration, they put us that much closer, and many people believe Obama is one of the worst of them. And he's continuing the expansion of executive power. And we're headed to a dark place if we allow this to continue. And, we have where we've seen the Republican Party get voted into power. The Republican base that voted for the Republicans, they wanted to see change back towards freedom. And when we see Boehner get put back into the speaker seat, we see that they failed us, because that's continuing the same old thing over and over and over, and nothing ever changes. If we don't see change and we keep doing the same thing over and over, we're going to see the same result. I think that's pretty evident. Excuse me. If we want to see change, I think we're going to have to do it, one, within ourselves, two, within our community. And that even means, starting your own community where you get like-minded friends and family and others that are like-minded, and start a community that is based on freedom and liberty. And you have things like the Free State Project are perfect examples of that. Another thing is, knowing your sheriff. And when I say that, even though I'm not a constitutionalist per se, I think that is a step in the right direction, definitely from where we're at. I don't see that as the end all, but that is the opposite direction than we're headed. When you look at the sheriff, the potential that your sheriff has to exert his power to protect the community from even federal intrusion from bureaucrat agencies. These aren't law enforcement agencies. These are bureaucratic. They enforce regulation, not law. They write their own regulations and then they enforce those. They're basically out of control. Your sheriff has the potential to be able to kick people like BLM, FDA, EPA out of the county. Another thing is bartering, knowing your community and being able to barter and have things to barter. Being able to either grow vegetables, have seed supplies, food supplies, trade lumber, make quilts, whatever you can do to be able to barter within your community. That is a strong way that a community feels empowered to not need federal intrusion. When the community gets along just fine and they see the federal agents as intrusion, that makes a stronger community because they can see that, hey, this is a outside force. And when you have agents that live in the community and you have a strong community, what they do is seen by that strong community, that bonded community. So anything they do has a result in the end. Are you doing it for the benefit of government or for the benefit of the community? Well, if the community thinks that you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then you'll be looked down on. And I don't think people necessarily need to be shamed, but they need to understand that, well, when you harm people, they don't exactly look up to you. And I think how a lot of urban areas are set up, law enforcement is able to get around having to do that by not working in their communities a lot of times. Other ones that so-called work in their communities just work in a different part of their communities. Definitely in the bigger cities, they can say, well, it's in the same community. Well, not when most of those people don't go more than 5 blocks unless they're jumping on the train. I think bartering is one of the strongest things you can do, along with knowing the sheriff. And if you're going to vote for someone, I think the sheriff is really the only one worth voting for. That and county council. You also need to try to work with them to vote on people that will protect your property rights and stuff, definitely from things like Agenda 21. These things will eventually kick people out of rural areas. Prepping is part of bartering, having things to trade, but prepping for some type of event, I think, is really, really imperative. I do my own prepping. I'm not a extreme prepper, but I do my own prepping. And things that I choose to use for my sources, I try to give you guys the ability to access those by basically telling you about them. And lately I've been getting all my metal from Amagi Metals, and I partnered with them. And if you go to antityrannynews.com/metal, you can check out all of what they have. They have some what they call junk silver, which is basically just I have some right here. They have some 90% silver coins, 1 ounce silver Morgan dollars for $25.20. They have silver piece dollars for $23.06. Those are really good deals. One thing I also buy from them is base metals and things like copper. And you can buy 5 ounce copper Don't Tread on Me rounds. They got 1 troy ounce copper ship bars, Lakota 1 ounce rounds. They have Freedom right now. They have 1 ounce copper standing Freedoms going for $1. You buy 10 of these, $10. Something really cool to hand out to people. Talk about freedom, give them something that don't really cost that much, but hey, it's copper. We know metal prices, precious metals, even the base metals are going up. So it can be valuable in the future. But it's something really cool just to be able to hand out to people to share the idea of freedom. But, check out their silver and their gold. I'm a big silver person. Gold's also something I do collect, but I'm more into, I just like silver. It takes more to add up, but the increase in prices around the same. But they, they have 1 gram Silver Eagle Walking Liberties for $1.19. It's something, even if you're just giving it to family members or collecting it yourself. If you can't afford a lot, you can buy 1/4 ounce silver Sons of Liberty silver bars for $5.72. by going to antityrannynews.com/metal, you're helping support this while getting precious metals and base metals for your own personal uses. I also encourage people that are prepping to go to ucy.tv and click the UCY store tab, and you will shop through Amazon.com, and you'll get the same great prices. At the same time, you're supporting UCY Radio here at ucy.tv, and all the hosts here have this awesome platform for us that Jules, one of the other hosts on the network, has created and worked very hard and has given us more than what we could ask for. And it's something that I definitely encourage people to do, because you're getting the same gear that you would normally buy if you went to Amazon. You're getting the same price, but you're also supporting broadcasting networks like this, alternative media, because we know when they start trying to push internet reform and kill switches that it's alternative media like this that's going to come under attack. And it's imperative that you support networks like this while we're still here, and give us some standing to fight on. We need the ground, and we need to be able to grow. And I know most of the time you're not going to hear many hosts or anybody try to advertise too much, but I think that it's imperative to give back, and UCY gives me this platform for free, and you don't find other networks out there that have given the opportunity for people to share their voice and the whole free speech. I'm not restricted on what I say, and you don't get platforms like that. And we don't run ads. So I try to always give a shout out to UCY and all the other hosts on this network, help support them and all their projects that they're doing. So that's ucy.tv. Click the UCY store tab, and antityrannynews.com/metal, and you'll help support alternative media. Back to some news here. And this one kind of angered me. And this one is video. California cop says selling ammunition is bizarre and illegal. In a video posted to LiveLeaks YouTube, a Eureka, California cop confronts two Second Amendment activists selling .22 caliber ammunition on the street. The officer calls the behavior bizarre. According to the Blaze, police responded after receiving several calls about the men selling ammo. One of the pro-gun activists grew immediately confrontational when the officer approached, then refusing to provide any identification or answer any questions, citing his constitutional right and maintaining that he had broken no laws, wrote the Blaze. It's 100% legal. Don't answer any of his questions, said one of the activists. The officer then asked for the duo's business license. Absolutely not, sir. Check your law. It's not our constitutional right. Or it's our constitutional right. You can check it in the city of California laws, the activist said. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, he later adds. And I'll play this clip here.
What's up, guys? What's going on?
Not a lot.
Not a lot? Why are you guys doing this?
Because we have the right to, sir. It's 100% legal.
Sure, make a little extra money.
No, don't answer. Don't answer any of his questions. We have an absolute right to this. Don't answer any of his questions.
Can I see your guys'
Absolutely
business
not.
license, please?
Absolutely not. We're not required to have a license. Check your law, sir.
You're not required
Absolutely
to have a
not.
business license
Absolutely
to
not,
sell
sir.
items?
Absolutely not, sir. Check your law. It's our constitutional right. You can check into the city and California laws. Go ahead. And we suggest that you go do that. We've already had the officers out here earlier, so we have every right to do this.
I understand.
Can I see 3 forms of identification? Because how am I supposed to know that you're an actual officer of the law?
Because I'm wearing a fully marked police uniform.
Anybody can be in a costume,
Can I answer your question without you interrupting me?
Go ahead, sir.
It's obvious to any reasonable person that I'm a police officer because I just arrived in my fully marked police vehicle and I'm wearing a fully marked police uniform.
Hey, with the type of things that we have going on in the world today, man, you never know who. You could be an imposter acting as an officer.
Okay.
Hey, would you step back a little bit so you can go ahead and film the both of us? Make sure that nothing happens for my safety.
So,
thank you.
Gentlemen, the reason why I'm here is because we're getting a lot of calls.
Okay. You're getting reports of illegal activity, sir.
No, we're getting a lot of calls of people that are wondering why you guys are standing right here trying to sell ammunition.
Because it's our right to do so. We have every right to do so. We've checked our laws. We've done our research. Now we suggest that you go do yours because ignorance of the law is no excuse, sir. You've made contact with me before, so you don't want to. You don't recall when you tried to harass me whenever I was on my bike when I just got off work, and I was looking pretty shabby, and you're like trying to harass me, trying to find out where I got my bicycle from, and you started cussing at me. So I already know what you're all about, Officer Sapola. You remember me?
I don't believe you have the right officer.
I do, because I said Officer Sapola. I remember you. When I saw your name badge, I remember you.
Can I see your ID?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm under no obligation to give you my ID because I'm doing nothing but lawful activities.
You can't conduct business in the city of Eureka without a business license.
That's the city code. That's against the you don't have any. You don't know the law, sir. So until you go and you cite the law, cite the law.
Sell business.
Cite the law.
You can't.
I can sell my personal items as long as I follow the rules of the California Code, which is I've got to verify identification for the rifle ammo, sir. Please don't step toward me, sir. Please.
We have Eureka municipal codes, and it's the city's right.
My constitutional right supersedes that. The Supremacy Clause of the Constitution says that you cannot make a law that dilutes my constitutional rights.
I appreciate
got the Constitution right here. He's trying to.
What you're saying about the Constitution.
You can appreciate it all you want, but you have no right to ask for my identification. You have no right to approach me. I'm doing a lawful activity, sir.
How do I know you're not a felon in possession of ammunition?
Do you suspect me of being a felon in possession of ammunition? What evidence do you have?
With everything going on today, anyone could be a felon.
Okay, but what evidence do you have to suspect me of that? What evidence do you have that suspects me of being a felon?
I don't have any evidence to suspect you.
Hey, we back up so you can go ahead and get the both of us. We just step over there just so you can get both of us in the shot, because I don't want to get assaulted or anything for, standing up for my rights. Okay.
All
right, thanks, sir.
Will you give me your name, please?
Absolutely not. I'm under no obligation to do so. I have a Fourth Amendment right that protects me and my person.
I'm familiar with the Fourth Amendment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad that you are. Then I'm asking you to uphold. Are you acting under your oath today, sir?
Yes, I am.
The oath of the Constitution. Then I'm asking you to uphold the Constitution and let me go about my business to continue in conducting my business.
Gentlemen, I'm simply trying to explain to you that we're having a lot of calls.
And I can appreciate that.
Okay.
You're getting calls and reports of legal activity, sir.
Of people conducting. I don't know if this is legal activity. You're not cooperating with my investigation.
What am I under investigation for, sir? What crime have I committed? What crime have I committed?
Ammunition.
Don't you think that you need to go and find out which code that I'm violating before you come and approach me? Ignorance of the law is no excuse, Officer Spola. I am not operating a business.
You're selling items.
I am not operating a business. It is within my right to sell personal property as I see fit, so long as I follow the codes and ordinances that are in act.
Which is the city codes, which you're not following.
Which is sir, I'm not going to give you an identification. I'm not going to give you anything. Can I speak to your supervisor? Get a supervisor out here.
I am the supervisor.
Well, then I'd like to speak to whoever is above you because you're clearly not the top.
You're welcome to go to the Eureka Police Department.
I'm welcome to stand right here and continue to conduct my business as I see fit, regardless of what you think, because you're clearly ignorant of the law.
I'm not ignorant of the law.
Why does you approach me? Can you answer me why I'm being approached again after we've already had a call out here? we've already got the other officers on video going, man, no, they've got every right to do that, and they told security and they moved about their business. You saw me whenever I put my ammunition up there? You went ahead and whipped around so you could go ahead and make contact.
Whipped around? Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
We're having a lot of calls.
Okay, you're having a lot of calls. So you can
trying to serve the citizens that are wondering why this bizarre behavior is going on.
It's only
so I'm here to make sure you guys are okay.
Okay, we're okay.
And
Thank you for your. Thank you for.
Who you are.
You don't have any. You don't have any right to do that because unless you suspect me of being a felon, you have no right to ask. I know my rights. I'm in full grasp of my rights, sir. I know exactly what the law says.
I can appreciate that.
Okay, if you can appreciate that, then I'm going to ask you to uphold your oath and continue on about your business.
I'm trying to investigate to determine whether you are.
Well, unless you suspect me of committing a crime. Thank you. If you suspect me of committing a crime, then do what you need to do. But
I'm trying to interview you. You're not cooperating with me.
I don't have any obligation to cooperate.
10 minutes ago, if you would have.
You just got here 10 minutes ago. I'm not under any obligation to produce identification for you, sir. Thank you. Other citizens of Eureka by showing up. It's not bizarre behavior, sir. It's only bizarre behavior because it's not the norm, because people don't know their rights. Maybe that's what we're out here doing, is starting to teach people about their rights so they can know to stand up for them. You're running over here under the color of law, acting like you've got some sort of authority over us, and you don't, sir. And then you move on from me when I know my rights to go ahead and try to harass my friend. Look, it's like this. If you want to take our rights from us, sir, it's like this. If you want to go ahead and deprive us of our rights, Title 18, Section 241 and 242 will hold you personally responsible. So if you want to continue this, I'll see you in a court of law. If you feel like you've got something against me, issue me a citation and I'll see you in court. And we're going to be bound in federal court for the next 2 or 3 years, but that's your choice. Hey, do what you do, sir. I'm not the one to mess with, okay? Because I know my rights through and through. Congratulations. Thank you very much for that, sir. Can I see your ID, sir? Because I don't believe that you are who you are. Hey, that's a nameplate, and that's a badge, sir. That's absolutely wrong. You're required. You're required to produce.
Officers required to give you is their name and their badge.
Sir, you're making a hostile stance toward me. Could you please just not approach me like that? I feel threatened. I feel threatened. Hey, well, you're a guy with a badge and a gun trying to enforce the law, trying to get me to show you my ID and my papers. Is this Nazi Germany? Am I required? This is Eureka. This is Eureka.
I'm not sure you're mentally stable. You don't know where you're at.
I'm mentally. Okay. Hi guys.
Can I see the 22 ammo you're selling?
No, you cannot, sir.
How much are you selling it for?
I'm
interested.
I'm not obligated. I'm not interested in selling to you.
So we can't do business?
No, sir.
Wow, that's mean.
That is mean. $50. Okay, thank you very much for your service, sir. I'm sure there's other citizens that need your assistance.
There are.
Okay, so we're not holding you up, sir. You're free to go whenever you'd like.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Have a good day, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Is this your bag?
I don't have to answer that.
Is that your bag?
I'm not required to answer anything to you, sir.
Well, I better make sure.
No, don't touch my property, sir.
Oh, so it is your property.
Hey, don't touch me. Hey, don't try to steal my property, sir.
I wanted to make sure that it wasn't abandoned.
Hey, well, I'm standing over it, sir. Check this out, guys. Everybody, look at this. I wonder if this is my property. Although, I'm not required to answer that to you, Officer Cipolla.
It's not an incriminating question.
Everything's an incriminating question with you guys.
No, it's not.
Absolutely.
It's not.
Absolutely. Everything's an incriminating question with these guys.
So you guys got today off from work?
I'm not answering any of your questions, sir.
You guys wanted to come out here and make a video because you got today off from work?
We wanted to come out here and exercise our constitutional rights, which you seem to want to violate.
How is it that I want to violate your rights?
Because you're coming up here trying to ask for identification, telling us that we're committing some sort of crime.
I didn't. What crime did I tell you were committing?
That we are not licensed to sell ammunition.
Well, yeah, but that's not a code that I'm going to enforce.
Well, then, by all means, go ahead and enforce it. I challenge you to enforce it. I dare you. We'll be in court. It'll be my pleasure. It will be my pleasure.
Well, that sounds like it'd be a continuation of wasting my time like we're doing right now.
Hey, it's your choice, sir. Everybody gets to make their choices in this life, and if you continue to stand here and you feel it's a waste of your time, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty illogical decision.
How much have you guys sold today?
That's none of your business, sir. All right. Like I said, you're free to go. We're not detaining you. You're free to go at any moment.
Asked and answered.
What's that, sir?
We had that conversation.
Okay. All right. Well, you're free to stand here and help us as much as you want. By all means, I feel a lot safer now that we've got the officers here protecting us.
Well, I'm glad you feel safe being in my presence.
It's the first time.
What are you here to do?
It's the first time. Because remember last time I was playing, and I quote, fuck games. You remember that? Does that ring a bell at all now? No, it doesn't. No.
I wish you'd identify yourself.
There's
so I can
no
go look
way.
at that call.
There was no call. See, the thing was I was just freely exercising my right to travel as I was operating my property. You rolled up on me and started accusing me. Where'd you get that bike? Where'd you get that bike from? And I realized it was a very expensive, nice bike, sir. And I was looking pretty ratty as I left work. But that doesn't give you any right to come up and start harassing the citizens, trying to accuse them of allegedly, I guess, stealing a bike or whatever. I didn't let you get that far because I know my rights, so it's all good. But like I said, you're free to go whenever you'd like. I know I'm about ready to go too, but I'm kind of just like waiting on him, you know what I mean? I won't be pushed away.
Lucky for me, I get paid by the hour, so.
That's all good. Well, it's kind of like this. Like, we were ready to go, and then you showed up, so we're just going to stand here as long as you're going to be here. So if you want us to leave, you can leave, and then I'm actually going to leave, but I'm not going to be forced to leave.
I'm not forcing anyone to leave.
Okay, well, I'm not leaving, so.
Did I tell you to leave?
I'm not answering any more of your questions, sir. Dude, this is going to make a great video for YouTube.
Is it going to be on YouTube?
Absolutely.
What's the title going to be?
I don't have to answer that. Well, mostly just because I haven't figured it out yet. But.
Okay. Make sure you spell my name right, okay? It's 2 I's.
Okay. Nice.
All right. Thanks. People are always spelling my name wrong. My badge number is 55.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anything else I can do for you guys?
Nope, that's it. Thank you very much.
You're free to go. You're not being detained.
All right, cool.
I want to make sure you guys know that you're not being detained and you're not under arrest.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. We appreciate that.
We appreciate checking out. Make sure everything's safe.
Prominent members of the community calling, wondering about.
Hey, what's the difference between a prominent member of the community and a regular member of the community?
Well, I would consider a citizen is someone who works if they can and contributes to the community in some way, keeps their house cleaned up, keeps their neighborhood clean, doesn't graffiti, doesn't cause crime.
Well, I suggest that you go home and you get you a Black's Law dictionary and you look up the definition of a citizen, sir.
You asked me my definition.
Okay, all right. So your definition.
My definition of a citizen is someone who contributes to society and contributes to an area and tries to make it better.
Okay. I guess I did ask what your opinion was, which is irrelevant. I guess I meant the legal definition of a citizen. Yeah. So, but anyway, like I said, you're free to go.
Okay, the officer stands there and then the video cuts out. It's one of those things that I don't completely agree with the friction with the officer, but when you're doing activism, there's going to be that. I understand that these people, that's what they're told to do. They get a call. Here's a call. So-and-so called in saying that there's people over there selling stuff. And they're like, okay, we'll go check it out. But the way the officer stood there, it definitely was a intimidation tactic. It's one of those things that we're not going to see too much reversal from city cops. They're not elected, and mayors are. I don't know. The whole corruption of the cities just sickens me, really. That's why I try to stay away from the city. If you choose to live in the city, make a difference. Actually, give a crap about it. I always thought there should be some type of bill introduced in a city that the law enforcement would be elected instead of your police chief would be elected like your sheriff would, and still have to be deputized by the sheriff of the county. I'm going to move on. We are coming up towards the end. I wanted to cover this one out of We Are Change. Volcanoes are cooling Earth. Aerosols from small eruptions have reduced global temperatures. Says small volcanic eruptions over the past 20 years have been protecting the Earth from global warming, according to a new study. Scientists have confirmed that droplets of sulfur-rich aerosols spewed into the upper atmosphere by volcanoes have been reflecting sunlight away from the Earth. Until recently, it was thought that only particularly large eruptions had any noticeable effect on the climate. However, the new study has confirmed results from the end of last year that showed these small eruptions have an accumulative impact on global temperature. This could have helped decrease the global temperatures between 0.05 Celsius to 0.12 Celsius degrees over the past 15 years. Since 1998, the warmest year on record, the steep increase in global temperatures seen during the 90s has leveled off, falling to match computer model predictions for climate change. No. New climate change models that are continually changing to fit what's happening. I remember some of the old ones they were showing where the ice caps completely disappeared. So, yeah, no. This pause or hiatus has been blamed on weak solar activity and increased uptake of heat by the world's oceans. The UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change last year concluded that the deep oceans had been responsible for absorbing an increasing amount of heat, but warned this could not continue indefinitely. However, in a paper published in November last year, atmospheric scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology found that small volcanic eruptions in the early 21st century, which had been largely overlooked, were responsible for up to a third of the hiatus in warming. Now, researchers at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California have found signs of the effects from eruptions from the late 20th century and early 21st century in the atmospheric temperature, moisture, and amount of sunlight reflected from the atmosphere. They also found that the eruption of Pinatubo, a volcano on the island of Luzon in the Philippines, which last erupted in 1991, also caused a drop in tropical rainfall. The fact that these volcanic signatures are apparent in multiple independent measured climate variables really supports the idea that they are influencing climate in spite of their moderate size, said Mark Zelinke, climate scientist at Lawrence Livermore. Now, this came out Daily Mail originally. I found out We Are Change. We've been saying this for a long time when they talk about man-made climate change or global warming. One large eruption, I forget exactly the number. I don't have it right here in front of me, but the large eruptions put off what takes us multiple years to put off as humans on Earth. And with the small eruptions on top of that, and the continual seismic, and then also the possibility of the aerosol spraying might play a little bit of role in this. But we do know that volcanoes do put off, history has shown that extremely large eruptions have caused many ice ages. This is the cycle of the Earth, and Earth is going to do what it does no matter what we do. What we do a lot of times will end up having more negative effects. And the aerosol spraying, aluminum, strontium, barium, things like that, our radiation that, Fukushima put off into that, things that we do end up having negative effects. And, yeah, a volcanic eruption might cause a mini ice age. That's something that we as humans are going to have to deal with, and we have before. We can't prevent everything. And the seeking to prevent things sometimes leads people to give up their freedom. And it's allowing someone to get you to fear the unknown. Fear things that could potentially hurt you. And you can't feed into that fear. What you need to do is be willing to stand up for yourself and seek freedom. Because the only thing that's promised to you is right now. And as long as we're not harming each other, and we're respecting each other's right to live the lives that we choose, as long as we're not harming each other, not harming others' property or their rights, that for the most part, we will make government irrelevant. We can seek alternatives. Alternatives for security, alternatives for the community. One thing that made early America so innovative, even though we are still innovative, when the tech field wasn't highly regulated, which it's not completely highly regulated right now, but it's getting there. But when the tech field was completely new and just completely free to do whatever the hell they wanted, the expansions of that, and then you look in our history in here in America when people can just move west and try new things, whether they failed or they succeeded, they had the freedom to attempt to try new things. We seem to be getting boxed in. Go to high school, go to college, go to work. If there's no work, get on welfare. It's a box. And it seems to be closing in on many people. And I urge people, don't give up. Don't feed into the fear. Don't give up. Don't allow people to manipulate you to do dumb crap. What you need to do is take control of your life. Seek out ways that you can live free. Seek out ways that you can have free interactions with people, voluntarily interact with others, and trade. And a lot of times I also see people get caught up in the manipulation that you need all kinds of money to be happy. And what you need is the ability to do the things you want to do in a free way, in a way that doesn't require you to be a slave to another. And bartering, again, looking at alternative ways of currency, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be silver, seeds, or just things that you have that you're willing to trade for others. But we have to be willing to not lose ourselves, not lose our morals, not lose our confidence in ourselves and our ability to prosper as individuals. And that's what I fear America's headed. And I know it's not needed. Because even though we have all these issues with government, all these issues with law enforcement, for a lot of us, we still do have a lot of freedom. And for others, we need to give them the ability to express their freedom. But we also have to remember that we can't feed into violence. Self-defense is one thing, but to initiate violence towards others will only result in violence being perpetrated upon you. And if we can all work towards that goal within ourselves, I think that our interactions with each other will be stronger, better, because you don't see neighbors interacting with neighbors anymore. We don't see the community coming together unless it's in a violent way. But we need to come together when we don't have something to be angry about, when we all feel like we're doing okay. Well, let's come together and let's make things great, not just when things are getting down. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch you this Friday. Stay tuned for the continual condition here on UCY.TV. Take care.